Alright, so here we are. We're kind of going to walk up this little area to our coffee receptionist area. So come on. Here we have some of our plaques for some of our accreditations and some of the companies that we're certified with. Here we have Infinity. There's Ford. We're also certified for Ford F-150 aluminum, GM, FCA, which is Fiat Chrysler America. They also have brands like Ferrari, Maserati, and Alfa, which we're certified in, but that's not in this certification. Honda Pro First. And Acura, we're also certified for the NSX, which is a separate certification. Nissan, also certified for the GTR. Hyundai, this is Assured Performance, they're an inspection company. And up here we have more like the big boys. This is our coffee area, but around here, this is our Mercedes Elite certification, one of two. This is the higher tier, we can fix aluminum cars. McLaren Paint and Body, very cool certification. You can't even get paint for McLaren unless you're certified. We have Aston Martin, which was the first company to come out with the certification program. Tesla, Jaguar, Land Rover. There's the Nissan plaque. There's some more for McLaren. Here's my McLaren paint training. Rolls-Royce, we're one of three in the country for Rolls-Royce. Volvo, which is a new one and a great company to be on. And Porsche, which is one of our big staples. So, as we keep going.
This is our reception area. When customers first come to the shop, these are the lovely ladies that greet them. We got Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Angelina. Hi. Deborah, and my lovely mother. Say hi, Mom.
Yeah. We got a few more people that aren't here right now, but this is kind of where people come in. This is kind of where the flow gets picked up, so they'll come in, they'll set up a claim. Our lovely ladies up here, they'll set up insurance inspections, they'll do customer updates, rentals, billing. So whenever you come here, you gotta see Angelina. She's got the biggest smile.
Angelina.
She's always got candy.
So here we have our lounge coffee area. If an adjuster or a customer comes, they're waiting for someone to hang out in here. We got the TV going. We got a few model cars, some pictures of the guys in the shop, and there we do espresso. We have coffee and tea back there. You know, just a nice place to hang out. Just keep walking through here now. But if someone comes through and they're waiting for a while, they got to do some work. We have Wi-Fi, we have chargers over here, so it's set up so they can kind of get some work done. If we have to have a little bit more of a formal meeting, but not a full sit down, we'll talk over there. I don't know if this is open. Oh, no, so so in here we have our supply room, which is kind of messy. It's usually pristine, but we just got an order and we're doing some reorganizing. So in here we have all of our different sandpapers, all of our different DAs. You can see we have grits, 1500, 2000, 1000, 400. I mean, we have all the way from 86 going up to 6,000 for Trizac. So a lot of different materials that we have in here. Over here we have all our tints and toners. For Spieshecker, that's one of the brands that we carry, and then our paint room we have all Glazeret. These are two of the most commonly used paint companies for certifications. Glazeret's actually the main OEM company, and that's what we use for our waterborne paint. In New York, we're still allowed to use solvent-borne paint, but we also use waterborne. It's a little more environmentally stable. There's less solvents that need to escape, so sometimes it's a better product to work with. So, and of course the manufacturers love it. Then over here we have just some standard stuff like some painter's soap, a bunch of gloves. Over here we have all kinds of different compounds and polishes and stuff like that. So now we're going to head into the main work area. We have two work areas that we work with. This one's more paint, polish assembly, and the one I'm going to take you in across the street, that's where all the dirty work happens, all the stuff that makes dust. So whether it be primer or body filler, we like to keep this shop clean. This is kind of like our final pit stop. So let's walk in here. So I'm going to start over here. Here we have, obviously our bathrooms for our staff. In here we have our compressor room, and out there some different exits to the shop. Over here, we keep all our parts that have been painted off the cars that are waiting to dry and cure a little bit before they go through our sanding, polish, and paint correction process. Every part that gets painted here has to get paint corrected, and most adjacent panels get paint corrected so that the orange peel matches. All the texture is the same. You paint your car, you bring it out to the real world. You don't want anyone to know your car was painted. How do we achieve that? You know, not only is color match a huge thing and quality of work, keeping everything original, but it's also very important that the orange peel matches, right? That's something that some people that are really tuned in will see. So, over here, this looks like an explosion, but this is our room where we keep all our parts that come off of cars that are still good. So everything is in boxes that's labeled with a job number. So let's say an insurance company comes by and they want to see some parts for job XYZ. I can come in here. Everything's labeled. Everything's easy to find. It's good to go. It's an important key factor in our shop, and we try to keep it as clean as we can. Sometimes it's hard because, you know, we have so much going on. So upstairs is like our clerical office. Over here we have our operations office. It's where all our adjusters work, our parts ordering people, our managers. This is kind of like the lifeblood of the shop. It's like the brain of the shop. This is where I sit. This is the big boss, this is my dad. My cousin Anthony. So it's Desiree. Desiree deals with a lot of Tesla stuff. We kind of allocate a little bit of staff just for Tesla because the way they want things done is so specific and so organized that we try to, you know, separate some of those processes. Back there, he's not there now, but Mike sits there. He usually goes through the parts, tears things down, and sees, you know, what do we need to order. And over there's John. He normally sits there. He checks in cars. So when a car comes in, he takes photos of everything all around the car, and, you know, does what's called the VR, vehicle report. Gets that signed off, puts in customer contact, kind of sets up the files and makes things more streamlined for everyone, more of an easier customer service process. So over here we have a steel frame area where we do some framework and bodywork on steel cars and cars that are a little bit older. And we also have an area down there with a little bit of a more refined reassembly area. So as you walk through, hold on one second. So here we are, you know, this is a car that's kind of being inspected to see if it has frame damage or not. Here's actually something really interesting. We have a really old Rolls Royce over there. It's an 80s car and they don't make any parts for it. So one part needed to be made. We have our guy Frank here. Frank's, you know, almost 70 years old. Frank's a master fabricator. He actually fabricated a part that we didn't have. This is a high gauge steel, the same kind of steel that's on the car originally. And he's custom fitting and making this part so that it fits into the floor of this Rolls Royce. You can actually see it over here.
Say hello to the camera, Frank. Say hello to the camera.
I heard you the man.
He doesn't like cameras. But you know, this piece is supposed to sit here, and then this is one of the earlier uses of carbon fiber within the company, and they have this carbon fiber top, so this sits on top of the floor pan. So we got to refabricate that part because the parts aren't currently available. They stopped making them probably 10 years ago. So, you know, some more reassembly over here. This is our paint room. We laid this carpet down so it's a little bit dirty, so we have a tiled floor. We don't get that dirty. Over here at the top, we have our Glazerite paints. These are water-based paints, and this is the OEM manufacturer paint for everything Volkswagen, BMW, you know, almost all German European companies will use this for their original manufacturers' paints. Manufacturers like Porsche or Audi or BMW, they don't make their own paint. So they outsource to this company, and this is Spieshecker. Spieshecker is a very high quality paint made by DuPont, and they're the people that a lot of the OEM manufacturers look to in the aftermarket. So for body shops to use, if they were to recommend a paint, it's very commonly Spieshecker, Glazerite, or another company called PPG, which we don't use. And here you see a list out of all the tints. That's for 90 line, and over here, this is Permacron for Spieshecker. Over here is our mixing computer and scale. We have two setups, one over there and one over here. Grab tints off the shelf and they say, okay, we want 3 grams of this, we want 2.8 grams of that. And we mix everything together, and that's how we get the colors that we need. They usually provide us with 2 or 3 spray outs, and we go from there. So here are our paint booths. We only use USI Italia. My dad was in this business way before anyone used paint booths, and when they first came out, he loved USI Italia. There was only a few brands at the time. They had the best stuff. Everything they had was top of the line. It's an Italian product. You know, we always go for that. They make great things. They have great ingenuity. So we've always used them. You know, we've been in business since '82, and we've always used USI Italian. It's a great company. So once parts get painted, they get put over there, and once the car itself gets cured, it gets put together. We come over here for our paint finishing area or our paint correction area. If you take a look over here, so you can see, if you look at this area, this is an area that hasn't yet been sanded, and this has. Now this is a light Trizac sand. This is for paint correction. You can see almost this whole car was sanded. It kind of makes for a better quality finish after we detail it. A lot of detailers don't do this because they're nervous about burning the panels. They don't have the ability to repaint them. But you know, we're basically scraping off a very fine top layer of the clear, and underneath that you just have fresh newborn clear. It's great. It's a great way to take a car that's really been beat up over time and, you know, make it look brand new. There's no better way of rejuvenating a car than this. So this is our enclosed aluminum room. This is where we work on only exclusively aluminum cars. So you get a Tesla in here, and you know, it's a great setup. It's a great way to keep things clean. Manufacturers love it. They love to see it. I think I showed you last time over here. These are our Wubacks. This is our carbon one. We actually were mandated to get this for our Lamborghini certification. Keeps our tech's lungs clean, and you know, carbon fiber is some nasty stuff when you grind it down, so it's important to have. And then I know you guys seen this before. Our aluminum tool booth. It's basically a big toolbox, and this is a cool piece of equipment we just got through Audi's parts line VAS. This is a $20,000 aluminum dent pulling system. It works pretty good. It doesn't work for everything, but it's a great tool to have, and it helps a lot. Over here, this is where cars get put back together after they're taken apart. 90% of the cars go through this area. Some of the more high-end stuff gets put back together over there. For the most part, we do it over here. Under here, they have a small lift with another lift over there. And then over here is our one big main lift that we use, mostly for suspension jobs. See, here's an Alfa Romeo Stelvio undergoing some open heart surgery. So over here is where we're taking cars apart after they get seen by the insurance companies. This way we kind of put together a parts order. We see what little odds and ends that we need to complete the job. This is a very important area because if this isn't done and done right, the jobs will take a lot longer. Over here we have our prep area. This is where the cars start to get ready for paint. They get sanded down. We also do a lot of disassembly here because there's some things like doors or windshields or trunks that we don't want to take off the car until right before it gets painted because we don't have all that much room. You know, New York, realty is kind of like a limited resource, so we got to use it the best we can. And over here we have our detail area. Probably got about 10 guys working over here. This is where we do all our compound, wool pad, polishing. And over here we kind of wash the cars, do our interior details. And in terms of this building, that's kind of like the main layout. We have another building across the street that we're going to see now. So over here we have some of these garages. This is kind of just for operational stuff. We have salt in here, snow blowers, we keep tires, we keep a collection of spare wheels that we have. So let's say a car comes in, it's a Tesla, and it's got a busted wheel. Chunks are ripped out of it, holes are ripped out of it. We'll throw this spare wheel in here so we can move the car around until we get the new wheel. So we have a wheel or two in almost every size for almost every manufacturer. Kind of helps streamline things, move things through, and any in-process tires we'll keep in there. You know, it's just a good space to have for operations. And if you look over there, that's an area where we keep cars that are going to be seen, you know, this day. It's like you can kind of see a fence over there. Cars that are going to be seen that day for insurance. So then we're going to walk down this way. So this is our incoming parts department. It's where all parts that are new come off a truck. They come down here. This is Adam. He kind of categorizes everything, organizes everything, and puts it in the system, keeps all our invoices so we're all nice and organized. You can see we keep all our fender liners up there. Over here is a nice collection of bumpers. Everything's tagged and organized by the job. Here's a couple Tesla parts. We like to stock Tesla parts. We do a lot of Teslas, and a lot of the parts are very similar, so it's an easy way for us to streamline things and get repairs through. Here we have some hoods, and here's like some little odds and ends, and you know, it's very important we keep all this organized and everything, you know, tracked in our computer system so that we can move through jobs smoothly and quickly without loss of parts or loss of money.
So this is another one of our parking facilities. We're actually currently under construction here, so stay tuned. Hopefully in a year and a half, this place will look totally redone and new, but we do a lot of totaled cars here. The cars that come in that can't move for a while or need some more work, we'll keep them here for a while we do jobs inside.
So this is an area we actually just purchased this. We have plans in with the Mount Vernon building department. We want to build this up into another shop, but in the interim, we're kind of using it as an area to keep, like Michael said, totaled cars or cars that are dead, they don't move. Here's a great example. This is a Porsche where the pyro fuse blew. That's a precautionary measure that Porsche takes so that nothing catches on fire. They kill all electricity to the car if there's any kind of incident that they think, you know, could cause a big issue. So this car doesn't run. With this car, the airbags are blown, it's missing a wheel. So everything in here doesn't really move, or it's totaled, or something that, you know, we're not gonna have to move for a while. We know we can keep it in here for a little bit. So over here, this is actually our first shop, and we're gonna walk through the back of it. Down here, our tech's not here, but we have our tech who's kind of like our fine plastic guy, another fabrication guy, very talented, been with us since before I was born. And then over here, this little area, it's like a separated iced out garage, and we use that as our thinner room. We have a very expensive machine in there that takes old paint and we recycle it into thinner that the guys can use to clean out their guns or clean out the paint room. It's a lot of good uses for that. So you'll walk up here. So this was our original shop. Now what we do is we kind of isolate it, so anything that's gonna make a big mess, we keep up here to keep our final repair area more clean. So any body work, any primer that gets sprayed or sanded, we do that up here. We have a booth in there if we have big primer jobs that we really need the thinners to escape. That's really the only thing we use that for. Here where you can see, you know, these are all pieces that have primer on them. You know, we're gonna be sanding heavy primer, or you know, a little bit of body filler. We try not to use too much body filler. You know, at any time we only use 1/8 of an inch because that's what our manufacturer allows and warranties. But you can walk through and you can see it's not a big area, but like I said, you can just see the dust is everywhere here. And you know, we have a couple dust extractors. You can see them kind of all over, and you know, it's one of the things that kind of makes us a shop that has one of the best finishes in the country. We don't have the dust flying around our main shop that a lot of other shops have.
As you guys know, not very Canon lens friendly, the dust. We're gonna get out of here.
So here we are. This is the front street of our first shop. We started business in '82, and we ended up here in '86. We were here until about 20 years ago. That's when we moved across the street. But over here, you can see a small building over there. That's our clean room. Whenever we do paint protection film or ceramic coating, we do it in that room because there's no dust, it's great light, it's, you know, away from any compound or polish or anything that might get underneath the film, so we like to do all that stuff in here. The storage area that we use for some parts that might be outdated or, you know, anything we don't really use or is not really prevalent right now, you know, we kind of throw in here. We keep a lot of older equipment in there that you never know when we're going to use. So this is pretty much it. We started in Mount Vernon, now we're actually in the Bronx, you know, one street away. We're on the borderline, but that's it. It's J&B.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for this upload. I want to thank Joe and Mike for giving me the opportunity to give you guys this tour of an amazing body shop, J&B Body Works, the finest in collision and repair. And this is episode 2. You guys saw episode 1. Just get used to these guys. They will be regulars on the channel. So like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be a wrap.